I need to say several words. I'm not with you, not because there are some. I was ready to take all the difficulties of traveling from Ukraine. There are such difficulties now. Unfortunately, I have not received the permission from the Speaker of the Parliament to join you. And it's about, unfortunately, that some political games already restarted in Ukraine. And when you are in a ruling party, it's easier to receive such permission today than if you are not, like in my case. But I just want to speak about more important things and exactly what I mentioned a little bit about unity, because like the main thing why Ukraine is so successful today, and we are successful, is a story about David and Goliath. I mean, this war of Russian Federation, of Russian Empire against our country. That's because of unity of Ukrainian people, and we try to keep this unity as much as possible, and that's what makes us strong. Definitely, usually when you hear somebody from some country, people prefer to say about their endeavors, about heroic deeds of their country, of their nation. I just want to start with our failures, because Ukraine failed many times. Unfortunately, in our history, we failed many times, and like that was an awful price for us. We failed in 1848, 1854 during our liberation war, and after which the control of Ukraine was taken by Moscow Kingdom, and that was a very historical moment for our nation, and we failed. And we failed, like together with Bogdan Khmelnytsky, our very famous hetman, but he failed, and we failed with him. Next time we failed in a half century with Ivan Mazepa and Charles XII, Swedish king, when under Poltava, Ukraine tried to liberate and to join the free world and the European world, but we failed again against Russian Empire, Peter the First, and we failed. And for 200 years, we didn't have a possibility for new struggle for independence. And we fell together with Ivan Mazepa. Both, by the way, Bogdan Khmelnytsky and Ivan Mazepa now are on Ukrainian money, but we failed with both of them. Next time we failed 100 years ago, at the beginning of 20th century, when the Russian Empire collapsed and Ukraine started to its independence, and we tried to create Ukrainian People Republic, independent state. But then we were again attacked by new reincarnation of Russian Empire called Soviet Union or Bolshevik Russia. And unfortunately, we lost the war for independence with our leaders of that time, Petlura and others. And again, we lost. After the consequences of this were awful during the 20th century, like Timothy Snyder is writing, Ukraine became part of this bloodlands, the most dangerous place to live in 20th century, because two world wars, genocide called Holodomor, organized by Bolsheviks against Ukrainians, we paid a huge price for our failure. So now we are again fighting, but what lessons we made? And I want to remind you that 16 months ago, before the Russian full-scale invasion started, all international embassies, foreign embassies, they left Kyiv, including Swedish and all other countries. And you can see now part of the screenshots about how Kyiv would fail in 3 days, how Russia would prevail in several days and would win. But none of this really happened. Today, if we will take a month of May, during the May, Ukraine was attacked by 154 missiles. It's just a big missiles of Russian Federation, and also more than 400 drones. But all foreign embassies are in Kyiv, and nobody is running away. Why? What is the difference? What changed during these 16 months? I think the most important that Ukrainians showed to the world that we can win and that we will win this time. But why? Why we will win this time after so many failures in our history? I think because Ukrainians made a very important lesson, and this is lesson about unity and about the fact that our victory depends not on one person, not on one leader, not on hetman, not on some great warrior, not on President Zelensky or anybody else. We are the future of Ukraine is in the hands of the whole nation, and unity of the whole nation. When the whole nation is ready to fight everybody on their place, that makes difference. Now you see just a number of pictures about like what had happened. You see a small girl which was coming every day to weave camouflage and masking nets for our army. You can see territorial defense, which I joined, being member of the parliament when Russian invasion started. I joined territorial defense, defending Kyiv, and I saw everything by my own eyes. I took arms in my hands. I'm not very good with Kalashnikov, and when in 1 month Russians were taken back, retreated from Kiev, I came back to my selfie stick. I'm better with selfie stick than with Kalashnikov. But I saw everything by my own eyes, how we were defending Kiev, and just ordinary people were making Molotov cocktails to stop Russian tanks. When in Melitopol, one of Ukrainian cities, the mayor was kidnapped by Russians, thousands of people came to the streets against armed Russians, people without any weapon, saying, "We will fight for our mayor, we will fight for our city and for our country." When just usual people were lying under the tanks, literally under the tanks, to stop them moving forward on Ukrainian roads. That's what had happened, and that's why we succeeded to stop Russian invasion, which almost nobody in the world believed in. And that's why after 16 months, we are still fighting. And like you see how the young lady is learning how to shoot from Kalashnikov. You see pictures here, and you understand that this is the real war of the whole nation. But for the whole nation to fight like this, what is the most important word? That's the word trust. And we are speaking about leadership on Engelsberg seminar. You are speaking, and I will be delighted to see all the essays which will be prepared by so bright people. I was reading the names, and I just want to say thank you to all of you for all you're doing during your life. And but the main topic is leadership, and I think that leadership is based on one word: trust. Trust, and we need to trust in people. Often, when we're speaking about trust, it's about how we trust government or leaders. But I think what is very important is quite opposite: how the government, how elites trust in their people. That is very important. 1 month before invasion, President Zelensky said to Ukrainian people, "There will be no invasion, nothing will happen. Prepare for summer holidays." And that was a very big mistake to speak like this with people. And in 1 month, horrible events started. The whole world saw it. And then President Zelensky made right thing, coming to people and saying, "I trust you. I will do my best here on my place. But I know that all of you, everybody of you, can do the best on their place. Somebody in the army, some journalist, some other person, no difference. Volunteers and Ukrainians did it." That this trust in people, that was very important. Like when I'm saying that that was a mistake to speak to people, that nothing will happen. In half a year, President Zelensky gave interview to Washington Post saying that we didn't want to cause panic in the country. And many people in Ukraine said at this moment that is offensive for us. It means that we are not adults enough, that we should not be said truth. The truth is crucial. We want to know the truth. And from this time, and during these months, I think that the word truth and trust are the main words in Ukraine, because people want to know truth. And when they know that they are said truth, and when they know that they are trusted, they are doing their best. You see how people are saving during this awful last ecological disaster, not natural, but man-made disaster by Russians. They destroyed Kakhovka Dam, which is the catastrophe of a planetary scale. and how people were coming from the whole Ukraine to Kherson with their boats, just ordinary fishermen from different regions of Ukraine, just to save people from the flood. You see how many Ukrainians bought a satellite for their army, just ordinary Ukrainians. And a part of this ocean of Ukrainian volunteering is a network of Goncharenko centers, which I am proud to be founder of and to run already for several years. You see now the map of Ukraine, and you see the names of our centers throughout the whole country, from east to west, from north to south. Today, one of our centers in Oleksii is still occupied, and now it's not just occupied, it's drowned under the flood. So awful what's happening there. But we're still doing our best. Our network is an educational cultural, the biggest in Ukraine educational cultural network. We, in our centers, children and adults learn free of charge English language, our German, French, other languages. By the way, we'll be happy maybe one day Swedish language. And we continue to do this. We became a shelter for education for thousands of Ukrainian people. Our youngest student is 4 years old. Our oldest is 84 years old. And we are proud of this. But during these 16 months, our network also became a volunteer network, trying to help people, and definitely humanitarian aid. But also, we're helping our army. We made more than 50,000 of square meters of masking nets. We bought 25 anti-drone rifles for our army. We bought 70 vehicles. And even just imagine, educational cultural network bought a self-propelled howitzer, 122 millimeters, which is like a tank, easily saying, to our army. And that's what we are doing, but that's what all Ukrainians today are doing, because they know that they're fighting for their country. One very important thing is decentralization. That was one of the bases of Ukrainian resilience. I was, during my previous term in the parliament, I was responsible for decentralization. And I just want to tell you that it is one of the most powerful reforms we did. By the way, Swedish experience we also used. And I want to encourage all of you to develop decentralization in your countries as much as possible, because this is about trust to people. Because people finally, after decades of Soviet Union, after decades of suppression, after decades of when they were told what to do, they finally started to decide how their communities, how their cities and villages should live. And that made so strong ground and a foundation for people to fight for their homes, because they clearly started to understand that they are the only one who really responsible for their homes, and they did it. And that's something which is very powerful, very important. Let's go ahead. I want to ask next slide. We are saying in Ukraine that the most democratic place is our residential building charts. I don't know, do you have such in your countries? But this is the most democratic place where everything is discussed, and you can see this spirit of Ukrainians. And this spirit coming back, I started from history. This spirit is from centuries ago, because in 17th century, Ukrainians were electing their hetmans, electing general at that time, not in the way with the ballots, but with their hats and throw into the air for one of the candidates. But that was democracy, and that makes us strong. And that today shows how alive and vivid is Ukrainian civil society life. And the example of this is this chart, which we tried to show you by this slide. So let's go ahead, please. I just want to continue and to say to you that we will do our best. We will win this war. Our lessons to the whole world are next. Believe in people. Their leadership starts from trust, and that is so important. The leadership starts from truth. That is the difference. The war of Russian Empire against Ukraine is a war of vertical against horizontal. That's Russian vertical with emperor on top. And sorry to say this, but slaves on the bottom is against Ukrainian horizontal where all Ukrainians are helping one another, where all Ukrainians are fighting this war as one organism, because they believe to one another and they know that nobody will do their job for them. So please, next slide. And I just want to say what's going on now in Ukraine. It's not a one-man war. We tried in Ukrainian history several times to have one-man war, and we lost them. And I think it was predictable. Now we have an every-man war, and that's why we will definitely win this war. Thank you very much, and I will be absolutely delighted to answer your questions.
Thank you. First question is really about the spring offensive. What are your hopes and realistic expectations of that offensive?
First of all, it looks like spring offensive is a really summer offensive. But I want to be very cautious. First of all, I'm not a military person, and probably it's better somebody with more military experience. My 1 month in territorial defense doesn't give me any real opportunity to make conclusions. Definitely, there should be no too high expectations, because Russia during this 1 year they were preparing. They digged into the ground. They made huge fortifications, which you can see from the space, from satellites. They are ready for our attack. They try to be ready. Definitely, we believe in our army, and we will do our best, and our army will do their best. But it will be very difficult. Russians still have advantage in the skies to attack, and we don't have really advantage in numbers. So we don't have more troops than Russians. So just imagine we are attacking with this more or less the same amount of people against the army which is entrenched, which is in defense, which was preparing this position for 1 year with the superiority in the skies. We have some advantages. Our weaponry, thanks to our allies, and thanks to all of you who are helping Ukraine today. I saw many names in the list of participants who I know are doing a great job for our country. I just want to say thank you to all of you. But that is not just about Ukraine. It's about the whole free world. That's why you are doing this, I believe in. But even with this modern Western weaponry, I can't tell you for sure that this offensive will solve the war once and forever. I think that it will take weeks and weeks, and it is absolutely possible that we will have, I'm sure that we will have gains, but it can be possible that Russia will not collapse, and Russian army in Ukraine will not collapse. So it's too early for the moment to give final conclusions, but again, we should be prepared that the results will be, but maybe not so crucial as we hope. The only way for us, if we want this offensive to be more resultive, is just to give to Ukraine more weaponry. I just want to tell you that it is very frustrating. I saw everything by my own eyes. If in March 2022, Ukraine would have weaponry then that we received after in May, June, July of last year, then we would finish everything in April, when Russians were disorganized, retreating from Kyiv, but we didn't have what to purchase them. You know, at the beginning, Ukraine was receiving just Stinger javelins. It was starved for guerrilla fighting because, as I told you, the West did not believe that Ukraine could survive. Then it was a moment when Russians still had not mobilized. It was the end of summer when Ukraine made our first counteroffensive, and it was extremely successful. But we didn't have what to purchase Russians again. We didn't have modern armor, tanks, armored vehicles, and that limited us in our possibilities. And that was very frustrating. And again, today we are attacking, but we still don't have F-16s. Today there is a Ramstein meeting again, and we know that finally Ukrainian pilots are started to be trained. But it's just now, and it will take months till they will be prepared. So if you want, I'm finishing. Sorry for long answer.
No, not at all.
If you want this, If I want this offensive to be really effective, I address to all of you: give to Ukraine attackers, F-16, more tanks. When we're speaking about 80 new tanks that Ukraine received, 80, but Russia at the beginning of this invasion had more than 12,000. We understand that the numbers also matter. So the more weapons Ukraine will receive, quicker we will win the war, and better it will be for the whole planet.
Are you worried about European unity? We saw each other in Estonia last autumn. There has been a lot of help offered by European countries and a lot of support, but more support in some countries than in other countries. Do you think that support can sustain?
Yeah, I think that I hope so. I hope so because I think that many people in Europe and in other countries, and not in Japan and other countries, when we are saying with the West, I don't like this word. I like the word free world. I believe in free world. I believe that I don't know, in several decades, either the whole world will be free or the whole world will be divided between a number of dictators. I don't believe that we can coexist with dictatorships. Sooner or later, as we see by this war of Russia against Ukraine, the conflict will start because you can't live together to just across the border dictatorship and free country. That doesn't work. So I believe that people in free world, they realize that in Ukraine there is at stake not just our independence of our country, much, much more international law, the future of the planet, how we will develop, where the law will work in the world or not, whether the democracy is really democracy stronger than dictators or not, and many, many other crucial questions for the future of humanity, of humankind. So that's why I believe there will not be exhaustion of the West. There is enough, sorry, of the free world. But you need to understand, I am saying it to our friends from the United States, first of all, because this is the biggest country from all points of view in the support of Ukraine, that if you think that you can provide, because today we see this incremental support style. Okay, we will, like at the beginning we ask for patriots. No, we will not give you patriots. We will not give you tanks. We will not give you howitzers and HIMARSs. Then, okay, we will give you HIMARSs. Okay, we will give you howitzers. Okay, now we're speaking about that we will allow to give you fighter jets. Maybe we will give you attackers. That's what we're hoping for. But all the time, step by step, chasing after Putin, but not making step ahead of him. And what I'm telling to American friends and colleagues, which I'm very thankful to the United States of America and people of the USA. But I'm saying to them, please, you should understand that if you will move just by this incremental way, there is the most important resource, and this is not Abrams tanks and not HIMARSs. This is not fighter jets. This is Ukrainian people who are ready to die for these values. And unfortunately, during these 16 months, many of them already died. The best people of our country who took weapons in their hands, IT specialists, belly dancers, managers, marketologists, I don't know, professors who came to fight for the country. But you can't have, this resource is not unlimited. This is a limited resource. And sooner or later, we will run out of these people. And that can lead us to real problem. And that's why I'm addressing the free world, saying that we need now all of this weaponry. Still we have who will be in these tanks, who will be in these fighters, who will do their job. That is so important, which I want to ask you to think about.
Oleksii, on that sobering and rousing, inspiring note, thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you very much.